Quick sketch to OBP a couple of weeks ago of what I'd like, and they said, yeah, sure, no problem, we'll knock that up for you. This is exciting, isn't it? Wow, that's Dad's custom catch can. First day we haven't had rain for ages. We've had 3 storms this month, so it's been impossible to get outside and actually crack on. Time to get the OBP catch can on. It's going to go here, so this bracket's got to come off. There's 4 spot welds. Quick sand down now, get some primer on there. There we go, a little bit of primer down. I've used a wire wheel to get everything back, tidy it up for the moment. Now I've just got to mark out where the catch can's going to go and modify the bracket accordingly. I want to leave plenty of space for a filter on the top as well. I just want to get those top 2 riv nuts in place, and then I'll mark out the bottom ones afterwards. There you go, it's mounted now, it's nice and solid. It's just got the 2 top ones in for the moment. Now I'm just going to put another one in here just to make sure. There we go, mounted on. It's not done right up yet, but that is absolutely solid. I've just got to neaten up this bracket now just to nip it round so it's nice and tidy. Right, another little break in the rain. I've been in and out of the van 4 times so far. It's been a headache. Okay then, that's all ready to go. All the pipes are plumbed in almost. I've just got one more to run across the front. Right guys, the catch can is now mounted. We've had 2 months of horrendous weather, which is why this has taken so long. Got the old trusty hairdryer on. I'm just finishing off the wiring. My 4 relays there, there's going to be another one just on the end in that blank spot. Called in some professional help. I think you're just fascinated with the ratchet, aren't you? Okay, just got one of these little filters off eBay. It's about £3, so it's nothing fancy. And now for the best bit. Wow. Welcome back to the channel. Excuse the lockdown here, it's been about 3 months. Got loads to get on with. I've got a delivery from OBP, which I'll open in just a sec. The cab has had a fresh coat of Raptor paint, which is lovely. The seat's mounted in place now. Obviously the shifter's all working. I'm probably going to have a CE shifter at some point relocated to here or just in front. So let's just have a look inside the box. I'll show you what we got. OBP foot plates. There you go, so there's an alloy foot plate. It's just going to help me to rest my feet on something without scratching up the floor. This leads me on to another one of the issues that I've had whenever I've been drag racing. So this is a hydro handbrake from OBP. It's called the Victory. On a T4, the handbrake is quite low onto the floor. A bit of a frustrating system because you're obviously leaning over to one side. So I measured it all out. It just sits inside there. Now with that OBP handbrake, you've got a couple of bits that I ordered up as well. Here's the master cylinder, so that's where the hydro handbrake's going to go. It's going to sit about there, just so that I can pull it back when I want to load up, and then as soon as I want to let go on green, bang, let go, it flicks forwards, and off we go. Obviously going to have to run brake lines down and around here. I've got some 5mm P-clips here. Also, just to make sure that I can dial in the brakes exactly as I want them, I've got myself a brake bias valve. So I'm going to mark out the holes, get that mounted on some riv nuts, marked out where I've got to drill these holes. Now just for a word of warning for anyone with a T4, the fuel tank's underneath here, so if you're going to drill through, just be a bit sensible. Don't go ramming a bit straight through the top of your fuel tank. There you go, the first hole's in. Slow and steady with this. You do not want to go through your fuel tank obviously. Now I need to turn that rivet nut into that to squish up behind the panel. So you just plonk it in like so, make sure it's flush. That's obviously squeezed things down a bit. So now we have a solid mounting point. There you go, quickly just bolting in the master cylinder. Get that in nice and tight. There you go, you can see that that's mounted. And of course the master cylinder's got a spring in it so that the lever will always spring forward when you release. Because there's a little less clearance on the rear holes because of the fuel tank underneath, just going to trim off 5mm off the bolt. So now that I know that those 4 are in line, I've marked out the middle one so I can get all 6 in. So I'm just going to drill these ones out now and put those in. There you go guys, all bolted down. That's what you want to hear. As soon as the green light goes, bang. Result, well happy with that. And there you go, just down the side of the seat. Otherwise I'd have to lean down and then release that off while leaning forward. So now I can actually sit right back, get myself properly positioned and just flick it forward. Okay, so I've blanked off a system on this side. Now I'm just going to have front and rear split, rather than having a diagonal split as it's set up at the moment. So the rear one's going to be used for the front brakes and this one's going to be used for the rear brakes. So at the moment, as you can see, the clutch line comes down here. It's just messy, it doesn't need to be there. I'd rather it come straight down here with the brake lines as well. Right guys, this is the first time I'm doing a brake line. Just for full disclosure, let's see how that goes, shall we? No it hasn't, it's just pushed it through. It's just pushing the brake line through, it's no good. And it's up as tight as it can possibly go as well. This is absolute piece of broken. I've had to try and reinforce it with a tent peg. That's also broke, so I've had to try and do it up super tight to get it to bite. Hey guys, so it's the next day now, and you can probably tell I was having a bit of a nightmare trying to figure this out and get it to work. The pin broke, so I had to put a tent peg through to try and get it to work. It was 10 quid on eBay, and you know, never has it been more so true that you get what you pay for. So that's no good, that's scrap now. And I put a post up on Instagram just basically saying what a bad day I'd had, because it really did, literally wasted about 3 hours of my life. And Ant from AutoStyle, absolute hero, he's lent me his proper grown-up flaring tool, which is, you know, I spent 3 hours yesterday trying to get that to work. It took me 30 seconds to do a flare with this. So please do give those guys a follow on Instagram and Facebook. Bought this heat-proof stuff. Let's just chop a bit off. Let's have a quick look. Let's see what happens, shall we? Oh, it's not setting fire. That is pretty impressive, I've got to say. Inside completely untouched, look. If I've got any left at the end, I'll just bunch it all up and throw some petrol over so we can see what it's like. Got 25 foot of this conifer pipe. I was going to buy copper, but I was told to buy conifer by Team Prawn Racing and Decimal Temps. They bullied me into getting this, saying that it's much better, so obviously I've got to get it. So you've got to remember to always put the bit on first. This bit goes in there, M10 by 1. There you go guys, you just witnessed my first ever connection. Back under here again. Here are the brake lines, so these two go off to the rear. This one's for the front right. Right, and I found a little hole there, so I've just drilled it out so I can fit the riv nut in. There you go, pop the riv nut in there. There you go, so now I'm just going to nip that one up and then bend the copper wire. Oh, so it's in the right spot. I can do it all up later and tighten it, but for the moment, that's where it needs to be. Right, here we go on the other end. Now I've got this coming up through here, so I'm just going to put it onto those little clips down the bottom and then try and feed it over to the right hand side here. So just going to measure out where the bend needs to go, take it across the top. Right, and I've trimmed that down to the right length, so I just need to put a little flare on the end there. Before I do that, I've got a slide over fire protective layer, which is going to go right the way down to that plastic clip. So before you do it, obviously always got to make sure you put that bit on the end. There we go, there's the first one in. Much neater and tidier. There needs to be a P-clip on here, so that'll fit in nicely there. I don't know if anyone's enjoying watching this, it's pretty boring, but just showing you what I'm doing as I go along really. Brake bias valve is going to sit about there. I've just got to get a piece of aluminium angle to sit in there on those M8 bolts. Okay, so I put it up through the floor there, underneath the handbrake part. There we go, so that comes in underneath there. Nice and neat, got to touch up a bit of paint there, but you get the idea. And treated myself to a brake flare tool now, so I can do it myself. And this thing's awesome, really good. For Draper, there you go, it says Draper Expert. They didn't have an idiot one for me, but never mind. So, okay, so I put the clutch line roughly where it's got to be to meet up with the hell line down there, just across the top here. That all lines up quite nicely across the top. Obviously I can straighten it all out and get it looking the way I want it to, but it's obviously much better than having everything down here as it was before. Now there's a bit of room for them to manoeuvre. Now I've just got to put this other rubber bit around and that'll look 10 times nicer. I don't know if you can remember what it looked like before. There's a picture. You can see that it's much neater, much more out the way. And there you go, there's a new clutch line in. There's a bit of a bend there that I want to take out, so I'm going to take it out on the other side when I cut the bleeding part in the middle. So we've got the brake bias valve mounted there. I'm going to put a piece of aluminium angle on the top here using these 2 bolts. Okay, so I've cut that down to the right width. Now all I've got to do is figure out roughly where it's got to sit. So you've got a little bit of a rounded edge there just so that it sits nicely in that little curve on the inside there. So now I've just got to drill those holes and get it mounted up. So it's nicely in place, both rib nuts are in now. Brackets coming together now, lighten it a bit, take some holes out. Nice little lightweight alloy bracket to sit in there. Perfect. Fireproof stuff's on there. That is nice and solid, that ain't going anywhere. Just measuring out where this is going to come through on the underside. I've just bent that over, so that's obviously going to sit on that side over there. It's going to come through underneath here. I might try and utilise this little notch to come through. There we go. So it needs to be cut to about here. Going to do a bit of trimming under the van. I've got my precision instrument of choice. Welcome to the underside of the T4. A bit more space this time. 2 lines come into the back. Low proportioning system in the back. This just means if you've got more weight in the back, it adds a bit more rear bias. So I've now got a bias valve at the front, so I no longer need to have all of this stuff. So I'm just going to take it off. More weight gone. I'm going to take this bracket down, trim it down. I'm going to put a riv nut through here for the new T-piece. Isn't it incredible? Lockdown, the weather has been absolutely unbelievable and we can't go out anywhere. Going to obviously get some wax proofing or get some wax oil on these bits here just to shield them a bit. Right then, riv nuts in. By popping this in here, it's going to give me a chance to get this line made up to go from here to the hydro handbrake. Get a bit dark now, so just got the torch out. Just made this line for this one here. It's going to have to be a little bit of a bend to come out, then come over the top. It's the first time I've ever done brake lines, so it's never going to be perfect. Right, and T-piece is mounted. Just going to put a P-clip in there. Again, to put another riv nut in, and then I can just feed the brake pipe. Through a P-clip here, through a P-clip here, and then all I need to do is bend this around and get it in the right spot. There we go. It's been a little while in lockdown now, so it's actually harder to get underneath, unfortunately. So this is where they come through on this side. Going to cable tie those together, put some heat sleeving around those. There we go, that's the rear one's done. Loops across over here, down, and into the T-splitter. About 2 years ago, I got this lovely headlining, but it weighs about 3.7 kilos. I say about, but I did actually weigh it, and I don't think it's worth it anymore, so it's all coming down. The Racevan look, so it's all just going to be bare metal all the way across the ceiling. Just moving all the bits of the wire I don't need for the ceiling lights. I've got a decent sleeping bag now, so I don't need an insulated van anymore. All this insulation out of the wall. It's been packed in here by the previous owner. I know it doesn't seem to weigh that much, but when you add it up over the whole panel of the van, it could be a couple of kilos at least, so I'm going to take it all out. And one thing I have wanted to remove for quite some time is this bit here. This is like a little aerial that the last owner had for a CB radio, and it's always been like this ugly spot on the roof that I've always wanted to get rid of. So I'm just going to take that off now and put a rubber ring in there for the moment. I can always get it properly sealed up when I get the van, you know, professionally resprayed at auto style in a couple of years time. There we go, little rubber bung. Got to get these floor plates in. I saw them and I just had to have them. So I'm just going to put 3 M6 riv nuts in. I'm going to dot out where I'm going to drill the holes. So I reckon there on the fronts and this one on the back. Drilled my holes, marked out in the base, and there we go. And I can't see them. Checked underneath, there's nothing there really to worry about. There we go, one down, all done. Solid. Only needs 6 in total. That side's all fixed. Finish this side as well. Just going to take this protective cover off. My ones are the OBP 043s. I think that's the Racevan version, who knows. But I'm going to take this off now and get it all bolted down, and then get the seats in, and that'll be the first time I've had a chance to look at everything with those in and the seats in and get the harnesses in. I'm pretty excited about this because this will be kind of how the front's going to look. Is there anything more satisfying than taking this stuff off? There we go, they're in. That looks absolutely awesome. Final thing to mount in the back is my nitrous oxide bottle. Wizards and Oz. I'm going to run a 50 jet just to spool the turbo a bit earlier and give me an extra 50 brake on top. I will eventually push it up a lot higher, but I've got to get billet caps on the engine, a girdle, and I've also got to get myself a G3770 turbo, and also the most important thing, a Monster Performance 1 to 6 gear set, and you know, go for as much power as I can. But nitrous oxide, I had to grab it. One came up from one of the chaps, James, on the VW DLC page, and I thought I'll have that, so thank you very much. So that's going to go in there. Just going to pull the pins off now. It's got the riv nuts in, got the bracket in situ now, so I'm just going to pop that in. The nitrous bottle's mounted, absolutely rock solid, so that's not going anywhere now. Riv nuts, stainless steel as well. I didn't use aluminium ones for obvious reasons. Now it's just a case of getting the seats bolted down. Let me just talk you through the seat system here. Now, for a lot of you who follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen these knocked up about 4 months ago. Because I am eventually going to be going for a CE shifter, wanted a seat base that actually fits in with the design I'm going for. So I drew a sketch for Ant at auto style, and he knocked these up for me on CAD. When I saw them, I just thought that's exactly what I was looking for. Cross braced, okay, because they are quite tall. I'm going to obviously sand these back to get a nice finish on them. Because I'm using a harness bar, I've got 2 straps coming down from the top. Inner thigh straps are going to come from here using these M10 eyelet bolts. And for the rear, Ant actually devised a nice plan here. You could bolt them on the side and probably get away with it. You know, if you have a head-on crash at 60 mile an hour or whatever, this will hold. but obviously anything that's going into the side of these aluminium seat frames is probably just going to snap. So Ant's actually devised a nice little plan here. So I'll show you. We've got these. It's going to allow me to bolt through at the base and also mark out a hole to drill through here. There we go, there's the first one. Perfect. I can also do them in a different design, so if anyone wants to buy these and they want to go for a 16 or a 17-inch wide seat, it's no problem, because all we can do is just move the holes on CAD. But it's also possible at the top here to just roll that over so that you can bolt your own seat on. If anyone else wants to buy one, I can just try and get a price for you, so I don't mind doing that. It's, you know, it's not no hassle. And I've always thought it'd be quite cool, as well as the vent at the front, which a few people have now started to order. If people start you know, using bits and pieces that I've designed, I just think it's quite cool to have my own little touch on the VW scene, however small it may be. Right, Maffy, he's another T4 crew guy, and he's having this step. If you want it, mate, you're welcome to it. Is it better nick than yours, is it?
No, that's fucking spanking.
Obviously it's all coming off for the Racevan. Look, I'm going to do the Raptor paint all the way through.
Sick, isn't it?
Yeah, you had a look yet, have you? She like one of the first mates to see the engine.
That looks good.
Over the winter next year I'll probably tidy it all up a bit more and like do the bulkhead and stuff a bit neater and get it blended. I think that finish just looks a bit better. I know you can get like professional brushing equipment, but the reality is I can always do that at a later date if I want to. For the moment I'm just trying to get everything looking nice. That's the side that I've just done. And here is the other side here with the witness marks. So I'm just going to take that back now, get the seat bolted in, get the harnesses in. Right then, seat's in, so I'm just figuring out where this is going to sit now so that I can install the belt buckle and get the height right. So that's going to go about there, so I'll have to sit it there. There we go, and I'll just try and hold it there while I get out and figure out where the loops go through. Okay, so I know that that buckle's basically, when it's folding down, it's going to sit about 2 inches off the floor. Now when I first wrapped the straps around the bar, I actually did it wrong, and one of the chaps on the VW DRC posted this, and this is how you actually wrap it round to get it fitting right. There's the shoulder straps in, and also the leg straps. Now it's just the side ones, but I'm waiting for some washers to put on the inside there just to spread the load on the other side of the bolt. It's looking pretty cool now, isn't it? Jack the back up, the rear brakes, they've had better days, it's time to swap them out. Right, so as you can see, these are pretty much knackered. I want maximum cooling, so I'm going to take the heat shield off. It does mean that your discs do get eaten up a bit quicker, but you're getting a lot more airflow around both sides of the disc then. Now you know those jobs that shouldn't take long, that are really easy, you get everything laid out, you think this is going to be a doddle, this ain't going to be trouble. Well, don't forget, this is a T4. Now I can buy some calipers for about 40 quid, but then by the time you've got them powder coated and everything else, you might as well send them off. I found some guys called Big Red. Here's their website. I'm going to send it off to them. I gave them a quick call and said, look, can you rebuild these? By the time I've, you know, got a new set and got them powder coated, I might as well just get these rebuilt. But this was, as I say, supposed to be just a quick job, but in typical fashion, it's become a bit of a nightmare. If we look on the back, you can see here that the bolts are absolutely seized up. I've put loads of penetrating oil on for a week, every night, trying to break it up, and in the process I managed to snap the pin on this breaker bar. So I've just had this one delivered from Halfords, which is even bigger. It's going to give me an extra third of leverage or thereabouts, so I'm going to whack that on and also get some heat on the carrier as well. When you try and lift it, all that happens is you're actually moving the suspension, so I'm going to actually need to get a jack up in here to lock this off so that it can't move. I'm going to get loads and loads of heat on here to try and crack it off. Use more penetrating spray. Yes! Have that, you mother... Can't even get the socket on the lower one, so I have to file off the corrosion off of that nut. Finally! The van hasn't been washed for about 2 years. Look at the state of it, as you've just seen, it's been quite some time now. It really does need cleaning up. Got my new number plate on now as well. Absolutely love that. Thank you, Leo. That's very nice. You are cleaning it. Well done. Thank you.